by their very definition of this place, that they have a house manager who is supervising the taking of their medicine. So in here in section 294 and 1143, well, I don't know if it's 243. I don't have my copy with me, but it is in our zoning code in the definitions of residential care facilities. Supervision in the taking of medications, other services conducive to the residents' welfare. That is in the definition, by their very definition of how they are using this. There is nothing to interpretation. I read this to Mr. Yates yesterday. He said that's how I interpret it. It is very clear in plain English how this thing is written. There is no legalese. Yes, I spoke with you about this. About everything that I'm telling you. I read this and you said this is my interpretation of the code. Well, I'm going to read what I found. Excuse me. I have the floor. May I speak, please?
I'm just interrupting like you did.
Okay, go ahead. Have at it, son. You know what? You're absolutely right, and my apologies. So, go ahead. So,
I sat on the phone and said, look, Mike, I'm not going to give you an interpretation. I disagree with something.
okay. And I appreciate you still working on it, and you said this is your interpretation of the law, is what you said to me, but regardless. Moving on from that, because I was busy setting up my camera to get all my stuff together here so I could share it with the entire town, okay? So here I am, and thank you for interrupting me as I interrupted them, so you're good. What's your name, sir? Do I know? Chris Griffith? Oh, you're the one that always hassled me on Roundtable? You're the guy. Nice to meet you. We'll talk later, seriously. So I'm going to get back on subject here. So this place is considered a residential care facility by their very own definition. By their very own definition, and then we go into the chart of conditional uses. Actually, we're going to go one back. We're going to go to R4 zoning, permitted uses, does not permit for uses of residential care facilities. It says very clearly and plainly, single-family homes and signs, see section 1173. That's from memory, but there's only two things. So permitted uses does not permit residential care facilities. So then we go to the next step after that. Then we go to conditional uses permitted.
Do you agree with him on that? Can you speak on that?
Well, let me finish my point, and then we'll let Dave get up here, Mr. Maestros. So it is not permitted in R4 districts. It is not permitted. So then, ironically, you can put a mausoleum in any residential district, but you have to get a conditional use permit. So if we want a mausoleum in Mr. Yates's backyard, he can do it, but he has to submit for a conditional use permit. And there is a chart in there that says what uses are allowed in an R4 district and all of the districts. Residential care facilities are not even available for a conditional use permit. So it is plain and simple not allowed. It is allowed in a public facility district, which is why we suggested to put it in right behind City Hall here. When I asked Mr. Yates why we would do that, he said, why would I do that? And I said, because it's a good Christian thing to do and we're helping the community. And that was pretty much thrown out. So now my question on all of this is that this is a zoning issue. Here's my question. With all of that information, it's very clearly and easy to understand this stuff. Anybody can look it up in the Conway Green. It's all over Roundtable, highlighted very well. My question on this is that this is a zoning issue that is very clear and spelled out, defined perfectly. With your record, and I'm sorry for this, with your record in zoning case law in Twinsburg that I know is owing a lot, owing everything, are we going to seek outside counsel with someone that knows Twinsburg zoning, who has won 11 judgments, so that we can get good, accurate representation? With the fact that you work, again, my apologies, at the pleasure of the mayor. You have one boss, and if you have a boss who may be misinformed or misguided or confused, you're going to do what you have to do to take care of your job. Or do we receive outside counsel who is unbiased and is going to do what our law says? The zoning code says this is not legal in Twinsburg. Are you open, Mr. Maestros, to receiving outside counsel to represent this? Thank you. That's my question.
Okay. Did anybody else hear me already say that we've already engaged outside counsel? I said that before Mike even took... Right?
Can I speak for a moment?
stopping them guys from moving in at this
Can
point.
I
They
speak?
can't do that without going to the right avenues.
From my experience,